Towns and monasteries along rivers in Scotland and Ireland were frequent targets of Viking raids in the early 800s AD. Medieval Ireland was a disunited collection of clans and tribes led by tribal chieftains and petty kings. The strongest of the petty kings would proclaim himself to be High King of Ireland, but his high kingship was almost always opposed by one or more alliances of petty kings. Treaties were upheld, and alliances were held together by threats of force, intermarriages between clans, and more often than not, the exchange of hostages or the kidnapping and abduction of hostages from rival tribes. The Vikings learned that they could take advantage of this disunity and set up seasonal raiding camps on the boundaries of disputed territories between the warring Irish tribes. The first raids in Ireland were hit-and-run raids by squadrons of less than 5 longships. As time went on, the Viking fleets grew larger, and they would often set up a summer base at a bay or along a river bank from which they could conduct raiding inland throughout the summer. In 841 AD, the Viking established a permanent settlement in Dublin, displacing a pre-existing Irish Christian ecclesiastical settlement. The Vikings could control Dublin until 1171 AD, when Dermot MacMorrough, King of Leinster, captured the city with the help of Richard de Clare, also known as Strongbow, and his Norman mercenaries. Henry II Plantagenet, King of England and Duke of Normandy, flexed his muscles and demanded that Strongbow declare his vassalage to Henry II or face seizure of his lands in England and invasion by Henry's army. Strongbow declared his loyalty to Henry II, and Henry II assumed control of Leinster. The English controlled most of Ireland until 1921, and to this day, Northern Ireland is still part of the United Kingdom of Britain. Ireland became a target of Viking raids from the beginning of the Viking Age. After the first Viking raid on the monastery at Lindisfarne, Northumbria, England, in 793, there was the 794 Viking raid on the monastery at Jarrow, Northumbria, England. Unlike the Lindisfarne raid, the Viking raid on Jarrow met heavy resistance. The Viking leaders were killed at Jarrow, and the crews were killed at Tynemouth by locals after their ships were blown ashore by heavy winds. After the failed raid on Jarrow, there were few raids on England for another 40 years, either because the Vikings moved on to places with less resistance like Scotland or Ireland, or because the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle suppresses the records of Viking raids on England to glorify Alfred the Great, who reigned from 871 to 886 AD. The Abbey of Iona was first attacked in 795 AD. Iona is an island of the Scottish Hebrides. The Iona Abbey was founded in 563 AD by the Irish monk Columcille St. Columba and was staffed by Irish monks. Additional Viking raids on the Abbey of Iona took place in 802, 806, and 825 AD. During the 806 AD Viking raid, 68 monks were massacred in Martyrs Bay. As a result, many of the Irish monks relocated to a new abbey, the Abbey of Kells in Ireland. Also in 795 AD, Monastary on the Irish coastal islands of Rathlin, Inishmurray, and Inishbofin were the subject of Viking raids. We do not know if the Vikings who attacked Rathlin, Inishmurray, and Inishbofin were the same Vikings who raided Iona, or were wholly independent Viking bands that struck each monastery. The Vikings kept no records. The records of Viking activity from this early period are strictly from the annals written by Irish monks of the various monasteries. The Irish monks did not know the names of the Vikings who raided them, or if the raids had any connections to each other, or through a single leader or group of leaders. In 798 AD, the monastery of DownPatrick on an island off the coast of Skellig, just north of Dublin, suffered a Viking raid. The monastery on Inishmurray was raided again in 807 AD. The monastery at Roscam, only 3 miles east of present-day Galway City, was also raided in 807 AD. We can speculate without proof that the 807 AD raids on Inishmurray and Roskam were conducted by the same band of Vikings. In 811 AD, Ulster was attacked by Vikings, causing much slaughter, as recorded in the Chronicon Scotorum. In 812 AD, a very large Viking fleet, recorded as numbering 120 longships, conducted a raid on Connaught, but were beaten back by the men of Hall. If correct, this 120-ship Viking fleet was unusually large for the time, and conservatively counting 30 men per ship, might have had 3,600 warriors on board. On meeting this resistance, the Vikings withdrew to their ships and made further attacks at Connemara, Galway, and then moved on to Munster. In Munster, they attacked the islands of Forthaid and Rathach. The Viking fleet moved on to plunder the island of Innisflabrane. From there, the Vikings left their ships and moved inland. The Vikings were met by a force of Irishmen led by Cobdac Macubba, east of Killarney. At the battle, it is recorded that 416 Vikings were killed. In 815 AD, the monastery at Inniscathach was attacked by Vikings. Many of its monks were killed. Inniscathach, also known as Scattery Island, is a small island just offshore of Kilrush, County Clare, in the Shannon River estuary. In 822 AD, the House Peninsula, just outside of modern Dublin, was raided, and the Vikings were said to have carried off many women. In 822 AD, a church in Wexford Harbour was also attacked, likely by the same Vikings who raided Howth. In 823 AD, the Vikings raided Cork and the island of Innisdomhila, as well as Cloyne and Rosgellan in County Cork. Also in 823 AD, the monastery on Skellig Michaels was raided by Vikings. The Annals of the Four Masters record that during the raid, Gall, the abbot of the monastery of Skellig Michael, was taken away by the Vikings and died of starvation in their captivity. Skellig Michael is a rocky island just west of the Iveragh Peninsula in County Kerry. The sources conflict. Some say that Abbot Gall was kidnapped during an 812 Viking raid on Skellig Michael. The first Viking raid on Skellig Michael may have occurred as early as 795 AD. In 824 AD, the Bangor Abbey was raided for the first of many times as recorded in the Annals of Ulster. Bangor in County Down is a seaside town 13 miles east of Belfast, Northern Ireland. Bangor Abbey was much larger than the previous monasteries that were attacked. Bangor Abbey is often called Great Bangor and may have housed 3,000 monks. According to the Annals of Ulster, the Vikings plundered the monastery, killed its bishop, its doctors, and its clergy, and broke the shrine of St. Gall. After the attack on Bangor Abbey, the Vikings may have spent the winter in Belfast. In 825 AD, the Vikings burned the church in the town of Movilla, County Down, along with its outbuildings. After that, the Vikings attacked DownPatrick at the southern end of Strangford Lough, the burial place of St. Patrick. The Vikings were confronted and defeated by the men of Ulster at Magennis in County Down. Reportedly, many were killed on both sides of the battle. In 825 AD, the Chronicon Scotorum says the Vikings attacked the petty kingdom of Ossory in Munster. They defeated its people and then sacked the monastery on Innisdrumhila in Wexford. The Wars of the Danes says the people of Ossory managed to kill 170 Vikings, but not before they plundered a number of monasteries and houses in Wexford and Kilkenny. This summary is just a small sampling of the numerous Viking raids along the coast of Ireland in the early 800s AD. The records of numerous Viking raids after 825 AD become so well documented and detailed that they became tedious to list. One detailed account of a Viking raid in Farrad, County Louth, Northern Ireland, from the 826 AD Annals of Ulster mentions a great slaughter of hogs by the Galls among the great slaughter of the people. In 828 AD, Carpre, son of Cathal, king of the Uí Skellig fought a battle in Glucksford that successfully repelled the Viking raiders. Among Capre's force were armed fighting monks. In the years since Lindisfarne and Iona, the monks had learned to fight back against the Vikings. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video and would like to help me make similar content, please hit like and subscribe.